Welcome everybody to the Bartender Shoebox, the house of men's mental health. I got my guy on with me right now, Mr. Oxhog. Jared is his real name. How you doing, brother?
Good, sir. How are you doing today?
I can't complain, man. I can't complain. The holidays were great. Got to see the family and all that. So now it's that little bit of downtime before Christmas.
Yeah, they're too close together, though.
I know, right? I know. Well, since we touched the topic of the holidays, and that always seems to be a hard thing for a lot of people with depression and anxiety is the holidays.
Yeah,
I realize that from bartending, I've seen so many people come in and drink their sorrows away. Just it's either family members, money's tough at those moments, trying to get all the gifts for the kids and stuff like that. Everybody has a certain thing that they want, and you're just trying to be the good dad or, the good significant other. And sometimes it just builds up. Any tips for the holidays, man? I mean, you don't have kids, but any tips that you have
I
in
am the
general?
worst. I am the worst holiday guy ever. I celebrate Halloween and St. Patrick's Day. But like,
Probably two of the best.
I think it's because I've worked them for over like 25 years working holidays. You almost have to like train your brain as just another day because I mean, obviously nobody wants to be at work when
No.
you know everybody else is having dinner and everybody's having fun and stuff. But I mean, like, um I think I think like you gotta be. I think I was reading a thing last week. I think you got to be a little selfish, honestly, and
Mhm.
it's that may sound terrible, but I think you got to set boundaries. You got to know when if there's something you don't want to do, don't do it. If there's people you really don't care to be around, you be respectful. Hey, how are you? Happy, whatever holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever it is your thing is. Kind of like move along. You don't got to stay in places for 20 hours. You can visit, get going. And everybody handles the holidays. Like I'm not a big holiday person. Like I said, Thanksgiving or St. Patrick's Day and Halloween are the ones that I like. But like my wife loves Christmas and stuff. So I I think when you're I think my personal thing, like if you have a job where you're working them all the time, I think it just becomes another day. I think when
Yeah.
you I think when you're looking at the thing like, oh, I'm trying to get everybody everything, I'm trying to make everybody happy and stuff. That's nice and all too, but you have to be kind of like, I think being realistic with it too is very important. I think you need to be okay. I I have $1,000 that I can spend on everybody for Christmas. So but little Jimmy wants an $800 whatever. Like I think you know it's not the gift, it's the thought behind it. So
Yeah.
I think you gotta like kind of take it easy on yourself if you have issues on the holidays and kind of be a little selfish and be like, okay, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I don't want to, whatever it is that you're uncomfortable doing, don't do it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like you had said, about being nice to others. You got to be nice to yourself at the same time. I mean, that's first and foremost. How can you be nice to others if you ain't nice to yourself?
Yeah.
You gotta.
And how are you going to, I mean, you're going to, honestly, if you don't want to be doing it, and there's things we do every day that we don't want to do, which is fine. But if you have to, I mean, you're not going to be the most pleasant person to be around anyway. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think just do what you be respectful of other people's feelings, but I think don't overdo it. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
I can definitely agree with that, man. One thing, even for like to be respectful to others, I noticed one thing is tough for a lot of people is the loss of family members. Like your father's not with you this Christmas, or your mother might not be with you this Christmas. Any tips on how to help people, maybe cope with that a little bit?
When I was 12, my grandfather, who was, oh my God, he was my best friend. He was everything to me. He's the one that got me into sports and everything. He died on, I think it was December. I'm gonna say December the 12th. December 12th, I think, 1988. I remember, and then I remember Christmas being, obviously Christmas was, like 2 or 3 weeks after. And I remember thinking like it was just, even as a kid, thinking like this is this is rotten. You know what I mean? Like this is rotten. You know,
Yeah.
and like we were talking before we went on. Like we, my wife and I, neither one of us have any kids. And on Thanksgiving, we had to put our Rottweiler down Thanksgiving night. So I worked during the day, and when I came home, she was okay and seemed okay, not 100% normal, but she was fine the day before. And I mean, she was 8, and we came home from doing a quick visit because we didn't want to leave her too long, and she she lost, like she was, we knew there was something wrong, but it was still like kind of unexpected. We drove to Reading, took her to the vet, and basically told us, without even doing much testing, they didn't need to. She was lymph nodes swollen, that she was probably filled with cancer, and she was suffering. And, we put her down on it was like 9 o'clock Thanksgiving. And I cried for 3 days, nonstop, pretty much nonstop, because our dogs are our kids. And,
Hmm.
and I guess, some people are of the opinion, it's just a dog, it's just a cat. I hate them fucking people. But anyway, obviously,
I'm
no,
right there with you.
no,
I have stepkids, but my animals, they're just the same.
yeah.
Just the same.
So, I don't think there's actually there's a interview with Billy Bob Thornton on, and you can find it on YouTube. Um, you just type in like Billy Bob Thornton interview. It's about his brother,
Hmm.
and it's I think his brother was like an actor too, but I don't think he was like as popular as him. So Billy Bob Thornton's been in, a million movies, and he was married to Angelina Jolie for a while, and he lived like crazy life.
Hmm.
Now he's like, he's probably has to be in his 60s now, and he said at one time when you see him, he's 50% happy and 50% sad, because he lost his brother when his brother had some heart disease that they never knew about. It was never detected, and he had a heart issue, and it affected him to the point where he said, I'm good. Anybody that's going through any kind of death or anything like that, you have to realize you're never going to get over it. And he says, and this is what like stuck with me with it. He said, there's a melancholy in knowing that you're never going to get over it, and you start accepting the fact that you're never really going to get over it. That don't
Yeah.
mean you have to be upset all the time, but he said, and it is true, especially when you're dealing with, I mean, that could be anybody. You don't have to have mental health problems, but people who
Hmm.
have mental health issues, it really is. You're really, if you think about it, you at any time can be 50% happy and 50% sad, or 30-70, whatever.
Hmm.
So I don't think I think everyone has to deal with it in their own way, and I mean, like, I don't think the booze or drugs or anything like that, or the way, I think something productive, and you need your support systems as well, but
Definitely.
without your there, nothing's ever going to replace, like he said, nothing's ever going to replace my brother, and nothing's ever I don't like, he said he didn't feel it was fair to not be sad about his brother passing, because he said he deserved that. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing, it's like, they were, people who are an integral part of your life. I think it's, you know, you don't have to be, per se crying and stuff all the time, or, let it per se ruin your life. But I think it's something that I think you hit the nail right on the head. You have to be accepting to the fact that it's your life's never going to be the same when someone like that
Mhm.
goes, you know?
Yeah. I've seen like the posts on Facebook and stuff like that where people say once the glue of the family dies, it's never the same
Yeah.
during the holidays. And I can see that a lot. My brother, he passed away about 3 years ago. He took his life from PTSD, military. And like you're saying, it's one of the hardest, it can be one of the hardest things. Um, Holidays aren't the same for me. I always feel that loss, but the first year, it was this giant hole.
Oh,
The
I
second year, it
imagine.
was still a big hole, but you start becoming more accepting of it. And here I am in the third year, and it's like, you know, I feel that sadness inside, but at the same time, I have to say it is what it is. I can't bring it back, and that's where the happiness and the memories come back, and it is that 50-50.
Yeah. It's a really great interview. And like I said, I seen a clip of it on Facebook, and then I searched it on YouTube, and I just put Billy Bob Thornton, brother's death, and it'll play the whole thing, and it's really, it's he hits the nail right on the head.
When I upload this to Spotify, I'm gonna find the clip that you're talking about, and I'll record it and add it to it.
Yeah, it's really good, man. It's really good. It's really good. And Billy Bob Thornton wasn't always like he was always a really good actor and very popular and all, but he was like, and he even says it, like in the interview, like he wasn't like somebody who was all the time like he had his wild craziness, you got to a Hollywood actor, whatever.
Yeah.
But like he's so it's just I don't know, like it almost listening to him talk gives you chills because he's so like it wouldn't have been something if you were to tell me what it came out of his mouth, I wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah. Yeah. I will definitely find that clip and add it to the Spotify
Yeah.
upload. By the way, Chad Yoder says, "What's up, guys? To know our limits," and he said, "Sorry for your loss." And as
Really.
we were just talking, he said it's hard to move on sometimes. It is hard to move on sometimes, but that's the thing. I think you'll never move on. It'll always stay there. It's just a matter of the longevity as it goes on. That's being the biggest thing. As time stretches on, those strong feelings, they'll be there, but they start to fade just like time.
Yeah.
Just like,
It is, and it's I want to say thanks to Chad because he's always on and he's always, commenting, and he's. It feels good to know he's getting something out of what we're trying to do here.
definitely, definitely. He said that is true. That is true. Yeah. Thank you, Chad and Josh. I know Josh isn't on right now, but both of those guys, thank you very much for staying with us and all the positivity and stuff that feedback that you've been giving us and how it's been helping. So, do you have any shows coming up? Or are you taking it easy on?
No, I'm not. I'm done, man. I'm done. I'm done. I'm not even. I'm not. I won't be cleared for probably another. Today, actually, today's 7 months since I had surgery, so I probably won't be cleared to do anything even of the sort like that for another 4 or 5. And I think I never. I say I'm done, and I said I was done before, and I really don't like want to be one of these guys like I'm retired, I'm not retired, I'm retired, I'm not retired. I think if the right situation presented itself, I
Hmm.
think I would consider it. But my body is telling me, my mind will tell me I can, but my body, and that's why when I stopped in was it 2018, like when I was done, or 19, whatever it was, you know, I knew like how I felt after the matches and stuff, and I felt like I wasn't, you know, I wasn't performing like I was, and I never wanted to be one of them guys that was like, well, he used to do this, that, and not that I was ever, crazy and say, like me and Rob shed tons of blood together, and but I was never like somebody jumping off the top rope or the cage or anything crazy, but just a normal like wear and tear. And honestly, I love my family time now, and wrestling has changed, and um, indie wrestling, a lot of it is garbage in my opinion anymore. There's good feds out there. Don't get me wrong. Rob's one of them. There's good schools. Rob's, the Mess Brothers. Alpha Junior has good programming and stuff like that. But there's a lot of junk out there, and there's a lot of guys that just book guys because they pay to be on shows and stuff. And I can't. I don't. I'm not willing to change with it, and I want my memories of it to be positive and not resentful. And for a while, I was resentful of it because I was still trying to hang on here and there, doing stuff in the back at certain places, and I was just like, I don't, it's just too different for me. And there is one when I started with the Samoans. There was a guy who me, two other guys, and we had like this little like click thing, and we were three of us. We were real close. Uh, Jersey Devil, Dylan Dean. They worked for the Samoans for and Rambo and them guys. And we worked together for a while, and then like it just happened over the after a couple of years, we just kind of fell out of touch. So we recently, back in March, we, reconnected after like 20 years. And, you know, uh, Devil runs, I think it's called D2W in Jersey. And he's telling me next year, and Jamie was like my big brother, the Devil's real name's Jamie. He's like, next year, he's like, I run this one show. He said, we're tagging. He goes, so make sure you're ready. You know what I mean? And Jamie was like my big brother, and I respected him. I honestly don't know where 20 years went that we didn't talk. It was crazy. So that's something that I might consider, but only if I know that I'm, 100%. If
Yeah.
not, I'm not. I don't have. As far as I am with wrestling, like it would have to be something that I would really, really want to do. And that would be something I would really, really want to do. But it would have to be, something like that or something, that I haven't done, and I would have to be, you know, it would have to be the right situation. Mostly of me saying, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
But pretty
Joe Dudley says good evening to us. Um, Chad brought it up. He said, "You ever think about being a manager?"
no. I was always the managed, and I never had any. I always just wanted to be a wrestler. Being a wrestler was my thing from the time I was a kid, and I'm very grateful for. Like I said, I never ever one time stepped on a big stage, and that's fine with me. Like I told you, like I said before, I had a close, very close chance with Japan, but that never went through years and years ago. So like I'm I'm proud of where I came from with wrestling, what I did, who I was with, and you know, I always considered myself a very physical wrestler. I was very physical, but as far as Bret Hart said this, and that's where as far as I know, I never injured anybody. I might have hurt somebody, but I never really injured anybody where they couldn't go to work the next day or something. So, it was a part of my life that I still hang on to. Ox is still part of my personality and who I am, but it's just he just kind of Ox is just kind of sitting on the beach now with his feet up, So
All right. So talking about, as a kid, who was the wrestler when you turned on that TV that you said, damn, I want to be like that guy. I want to be like that guy right there.
I hate saying it, but it was Hogan. When I was
Really?
a kid, when I was a kid growing up, Hogan, was I watched wrestling with my father's mother when I was younger, and then that was like, when I was real young. I was probably 3, 4 years old, if that. And then Tony Atlas and Tony Garea, Pedro Morales, Bruno Sammartino, they were all like they were all the big guys. The Samoans were on there, and they were like the Rick Martel. They were big names. But then when
Yeah.
Hogan came and larger than life, muscles and music and everything else, like it was hard not to, it was hard not to be a Hulk Hogan fan when you were a kid. And I not a kid. But
Yeah. As you get older, you look back and you go, I could
uh,
see why. I could see why I liked him then. But
yeah, I think too, it was like he was always like fighting for the good, like that was his angle. He was always in a, Iron Sheik hated America. Here comes Hogan with a T-shirt that they probably had pressed across the street with American made on it, and
yeah.
he cut it up, ripped it off, beat him up, and everybody wants to be Hulk Hogan.
Yep. I still remember when Sergeant Slaughter started doing the thing with the Sheik, and all of a sudden he like flipped his persona and how much he was hated after that.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, so I mean,
yeah,
during the '80s, during that time, if you were like anything patriotic with wrestling, I mean, you really won the crowd over.
yeah, and you were, it was instant. It was instant. Instant. Shine on you. It was, all you needed to do, like Mr. Fuji. Mr. Fuji. I remember he had a match with Bob Backlund, and it was like it was weird. It was like a samurai sword match. I don't even know
Mhm.
how. I don't even know how the hell they did it. But like all I kept thinking as a kid, because you don't know. I hope you don't kill Bob Backlund. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
With a sword.
or the good old brass knuckles coming out of the tights. That was always, like a wristband or something.
Yeah, they were. There's so many. It's funny because you see guys doing that stuff, and that to me is a better story. It's a better thing to watch than watching these guys just jump all over the place. You know what I mean? And like
Mhm.
these crazy spots and everything. To me, that's not. And I think WWE is on its way back to being a like a good product again. I'm actually like I enjoy watching it now. Like I haven't watched it in years.
Mhm.
Now I enjoy watching it. I'm a fan again. I can't help, you know, um, I can't help but watch it and be like, oh, like this is what it was like, kind of when I was growing up watching it. You know what I mean? Like as opposed to like just watching these guys have moves that it's like a gymnastics thing.
Mhm. Now, I get that the whole lucha style and the gymnastics. I mean, when you got a whole match that's like that, it's almost like you're watching a gymnastics performance instead of a professional wrestling match. I don't mind a few of them flip spots here and there in it, but when it's the whole thing, to me, it kind of loses its feel. Um, but every once in a while, I don't mind it, but not
Uh,
not
and
where
them
not
guys
where
are
it's.
amazing. Them guys are amazing athletes. Don't
Mhm.
get me wrong; they're amazing athletes. But it's just it's. I mean, it's too choreographed. No fight that you ever watch is going to be like that.
Chad said it pretty good here. He said there's not enough structure in those matches.
Mm-mm.
It just seems like everybody's trying to get in their big spots and stuff like that. You know, and I get it. They're really good performers, but I like it from going into the '80s into the '90s.
Yeah.
Not the whole attitude feel because that kind of took over like a lot of the stories, but telling the story in the ring, I can't get enough of that.
No, and that's what I mean. That's what you're. That's what you're supposed to do. You tell a story with your body. You know what I mean? You want people to invest in a story. They're gonna say if you have, like Rey Mysterio is probably the best luchador ever. Probably will
Mhm.
be the best luchador ever, no matter who comes along. But his son is gonna surpass him, and his son can't do half the shit that he can do. His
Yeah.
son, his son don't even have to say anything. All he
Mhm.
does is grab the microphone, and the place goes nuts. You can't. That's white lightning, white streak heat. You can't. That's something that no flip is ever going to beat out. You know what I mean?
No.
They're invested in his shit. You know?
Yeah. And he has like so many different storylines with him going on, not even in the storyline of wrestling. It's still speculated if he's Eddie's kid.
Yeah. He. But see, that's the thing, and that's why they have him. With he was. They didn't like him, and then he grew the bad mullet and the big thick mustache, and just like Eddie. So
Yeah.
that's another, you know what I mean? And if you look back and you watch a lot of Eddie Guerrero's, who's absolutely, I think he put the luchador and the wrestling together better than anybody because he could do
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
I
Without a
think
doubt.
when you watch his stuff, God rest his soul, when you watch his stuff, I mean, he's more of an athlete, I think, than Dominic. But I
Hmm.
think Dominic is right on the same line with the charisma with him.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. It's almost like he was born to be a heel.
Yeah, I mean and eventually they're going to turn him babyface, and
Mhm.
it's going to be, he's going to be the biggest babyface, probably next to Rock or Roman Reigns or he's going to be on that same tier with them.
Hmm. Well, he isn't even 30 yet, is he?
I don't know. I mean, he's young. I remember when he was, when his father had him at the shows. You know what I mean? Like he had him at the shows.
Hmm.
So,
I mean, his storyline goes back what easily 20 years when they put him in the ring.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He was a kid. He was real little.
Yeah, yeah. I still remember, right? Because you brought up Eddie Guerrero and his style, with lucha libre. I gotta say, I used to love the matches between him and Dean Malenko.
Oh, amazing,
Hands down, hands
amazing.
down. Dean Malenko was just almost flawless with his technical abilities.
He he has Dean Malenko has. He was I think one of the most underrated wrestlers. I mean, he was a real. He was a real wrestler. You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
wasn't just a pro wrestler. He was a real wrestler. And his look, he just looked. He had the part. He was like this little, kind of like miserable looking guy. But then once you
Yeah.
seen him start to work, he was flawless. Him and Benoit and Eddie and all them guys were amazing together. Owen Hart, they were all amazing together.
It's a shame. Half of them are gone.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
all right. So Chad said the problem with that is the fans could start cheering him soon, meaning Dominic. I really don't see that as a problem if they start cheering him soon. I mean,
No,
eh,
it'll just bigger build up when they do eventually turn him,
yeah, yeah.
and they'll
Uh,
turn him. I think they're starting it now because there's some stuff between him and Finn Balor now, and Finn Balor he's evidently getting some high praise in the back, so they're probably going to end up with a feud with him where Dominic will end up being the baby face, and Liv Morgan will probably end up screwing him over and going with Finn, and then
mhm.
somehow that'll be a story, and then eventually Dominic and his dad will reconcile, and everybody loves his dad, so it's going to be like it's not only doing. I mean, not that Rey Mysterio needs anything for his career, but it's going to bring more for his career now too. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Did you get the chance to watch Survivor Series?
No. I watched some of the clips and stuff like that. I mean, from what I seen, it looked very good. You know.
It was pretty decent. The only match I was a little weary on was the LA Knight match with Nakamura. I
Yeah.
Knight just when he came out, he seemed like something was on his mind. It just wasn't performing up to just I think snuff is what I want to say. At least not compared to any other. And I'm not a big LA Knight fan. It's just in
Yeah.
general in the in the ring. It's just he seemed way off. Like he was pissed off. He was losing the title.
Well, there's either one or two things going on. Either they're going to put him in a bigger storyline,
Mm,
or he made somebody mad, or some shit that they made him drop it. Because
yeah,
Nakamura in Japan, Nakamura is like, I mean, he's like, he's like a Roman Reigns or a CM Punk or one of them in Japan. So like,
yeah,
I've seen a lot online. I can't believe he lost to Nakamura. In Japan, Nakamura is, I mean,
a,
he's very
a
well
beast.
respected, and you know, but I don't know. I guess it could go either way, you know. So, and it's all gonna depend on, they're going on Netflix, so it's going to depend, who the powers that be want to see. They want to see Roman Reigns is going to be a big part. Dominic's going to be a big part. Braun Breaker is going to be a big part.
Yeah.
Seth
You
Rollins
think
is
you,
gonna be a big part.
you think they're bringing Brock back?
No, I don't. I
No.
don't think. I don't think Lesnar. He don't need it. You know what I mean?
No.
I don't think he needs it. I think um he in in a lot of ways in a lot of ways me and him are we were I was compared to him a lot,
Mhm.
just through our, I think it was just the way, I was no Brock Lesnar, by the way, but like I think it's the way we were, kind of the look, the hair, something like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I think like Brock Lesnar has did some interviews. He finally did some interviews after I don't know how many years of never doing them, and he was like, like I just don't like people. Like
Yeah.
I don't like people. What happens at my house is my business. It's nobody else's business. He goes, I don't like people and I don't like being in crowds, but then I'm okay wrestling in front of 50,000 people. You know what I mean? And I don't, I think he's would be happy doing what he's doing. I think they would bring him back if, I think they would like to, I think, along the way. But right now, I mean, the bloodline thing, you can go in so many different directions. There's so many different variables you can use with them and with Heyman and who they could bring in and not. I mean, I love watching Lesnar because I think he's the greatest pure athlete, period. I think,
Yeah.
you know, but I think the whole Vince thing, I think, even though Lesnar had nothing to do with what was going on, I think that everybody ties him to that. And I think that I would think with them going on a major thing like Netflix, not that USA ain't, but I mean, people don't have cable that have Netflix. You know what I mean? So like,
Mhm.
I think it would probably, I, I would say I would not expect him back for a little while at least.
Yeah. At least another year or two before he hits the scene again.
Yeah, and you got to remember, I'm 40. I'm going to be 48, so he's going to be like 46. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I mean, like I said, he's a freak, but he, you know.
Just hearing the age, I remember when he got the championship when he was 19.
Yeah, he's
Where the hell did time go?
I know. And his daughter is like some real good, I think she's a good shot putter or something. He's, seen it all her stuff, and um
Mhm.
his one son is, doing wrestling and stuff. There's a picture of, I guess his son lost to a kid, and there's a picture of Brock Lesnar shaking the kid's hand to beat his son, you know what I mean? And like I think maybe now he's just like I said, like after a while, I guess no matter on what level, you always love it, and you're always like, maybe, but you don't need it. You know what I mean?
Chad says Braun Breaker is the future world champion.
He guarantee is going to be.
At some point in time, yeah. At some
Hmm.
point in time.
I agree. He's another one who's a fantastic athlete.
Man, seeing some of his spears where he can launch himself, 10, 12 feet, it's insane.
Yes.
Insane. Like where does somebody get that force to give him that push? I mean, I think of doing something like that. I make it 2 feet and
I
fall
know.
flat on my face.
Same here. I mean, I guess, when you're out there, though, your adrenaline's going, and he's an athlete, and he's got
Yeah.
good genetics. I mean, you got to look at his dad and his uncle. I mean, when they were younger, they were two guys doing stuff that nobody was doing. You know what I mean? So, I think, if he plays his cards right and stays out of the funny papers, I think he has, he'll be one of them guys that gets traded the belt back and forth,
Yeah. It surprised him too, because his stature compared to most of the guys on the roster, he's a little bit on the smaller side, but man, he really puts it out there.
yeah, he's put together. He was a running back, I think, at college
Yeah.
or something, and till he's stocky and stuff. But I mean, he's so explosive and he's so agile. He's quick and he's strong, and he's not like a Bronson Reed, who's like obviously strong, but he's ginormous. He's like a Bam Bam Bigelow, and stuff. I think they're doing a lot. They're doing a lot of good stuff. I love watching Seth Rollins. You know,
Reed's gonna be out for a while. He shattered his ankle
yeah,
jumping off
yeah,
the cage.
yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of I'm not a big CM Punk thing. I'm not. I love watching Paul Heyman. I think he's the best mind in the history of wrestling. I think that there's so much right now that they could do with so many different things. I think that
Yeah.
it'll be it's interesting to watch again, and that's good. It's good.
Yeah, with that whole storyline with Heyman, the bloodline, you can get three or four different storylines out of the wise man and three or four different stories out of the bloodline at the same time and which direction they're going. And then you mix Seth in the mix. Now is it going to take back the whole Shield things? No. You're mixed in
Yeah,
with long-term storytelling with short-term storytelling that can go in any direction. It's really good to see
yeah.
for a change.
There's a lot of money to be made, a lot of business to be done, and a lot of money to be made. And speaking of the bloodline, Samu, the great Samu, who was one half of the Head Shrinkers, he was one of the guys who trained me. Sam took a liking to me, thank God, and I have the utmost respect for him. I love him, absolutely love him to death. His son Lance was just signed to NXT, probably about 2-3 weeks ago. So now, I used to bounce Lance on my knee when I was at training. I was like 19, and Lance was, I don't know, 6, 7, 5, I don't know. And I seen him at the last show he did in March. And I remember asking him how old he was when we were leaving, because I was teasing him, and I think he said he was 30 or 32 or something like that. And now I just seen he was signed, and I sent Sam a message, and he was like, yeah, he's like, I said, well, congratulations, tell him, because, I'm sure there's 9 million people trying to message him and get themselves on, as a, Rosebud or whatever they can get on as. But so now, like, the bloodline thing is like, I'm even more, because I can't wait to see what they're going to do with him with it, because
Mhm.
he's amazing too. And like I said, Sam was so good to me, and he's an amazing human and an amazing athlete. So now I really watch it, and it's guys like I said, because I haven't watched it in years.
Mhm. I'm really glad they picked up on Jacob Fatu though. I've been
Yeah,
watching that guy easily for the last 2.5 years on the Indies, and now that they brought him in, if Bronson wasn't injured, perfect tag team right there. That would
oh,
have been killer,
yeah,
killer seeing them two together.
yeah,
They had the
yeah.
size, they had the look. You know,
And
uh,
Jacob is
but
beyond agile for a big man. He's just, I mean, he's one in a million.
Yeah.
One in a
I was
million.
like Keith Lee. Keith Lee was very agile for a big guy. I mean, unfortunately for
Yeah.
his health problems.
Yeah.
But
And then wrestling takes a toll on you, man. And I know just going on the weekends, I know the shitty food I ate because I was hungry in the core. I can't, and I mean, I know them guys. Them guys are on the road so much, and it's just all that travel and all that stuff. I mean, it's just it takes it. I can only imagine, like how much of a toll it takes on your body. Like just not the wrestling, just the driving and and now people, like a lot of them guys that are bigger names, they have their own buses or their own planes, or for them, good. But for the guys starting out, man,
yeah. Oh, yeah, all that travel on the road. I heard some promotions are doing this now where they're actually cutting the travel time down. Um, More kind of family oriented to the wrestlers.
yeah. Well, I know Triple H did. He did with Thanksgiving, and they'll tape it for Christmas and stuff like that, and that's good because I mean, you're gonna have healthier and happier workers if you're thinking it from
Mhm.
a business point. I mean, like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, yeah. I know. Was it Orton said one time he was really injured, and he said to Vince, I just can't. He was like, "Look, if you can't, we're gonna find somebody else," and he just pushed himself through it. Yeah, I feel bad for the guys that pushed themselves through it and really, really fucked themselves up. But it was their choice at the same time.
Yeah,
I figured I'd ask you that because, being a more of an old school guy, do you think that's better for the business? So, them catering more to the schedules of the wrestlers and
absolutely.
injuries.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something. You're in 2010, 2010, I tore my tricep tendon, and Tom Brandy, uh, who's another wrestling legend. He was South Sincere and the Patriot and all that. I was on a bunch of shows with him for a period of time, and we worked together a couple times. One of the easiest guys to get along with. Great guy. He could be a total ass because he's been there, done that. He worked The Rock. He worked The Undertaker. He was on TV. You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
told he messaged me and he said to me, he said, wrestling's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. So if you cut out a couple house shows or you cut out, one or two shows here and there, them people are going to go. They're going to go next time they're in, wherever
Mhm.
they're. You know what I mean? Like it's not a big deal, and I think the boys deserve it because like I said, they're ran hard, so and then they're paid well. Don't get me wrong, but I don't. I think people are under the assumption that everybody makes that big money, like John Cena money or Roman Reigns money or and all that stuff, and they really don't. They make a good living, but you got to remember a lot of them. You got to pay, your own way for this. You pay your own way for that. You got to get your own insurance. Things like that. So you're really not making. You're making good money, but you're not really. You're not making. You know, baseball, football, basketball player money. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. You might get that contract for 250,000 with WWE, but then you got your flights, your travel, your health, your food expenses, all that stuff, plus your house to maintain on top of it. So, I'm not
So you're
saying
not.
that
Yeah, you're down to 100 grand.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
you got to stretch it as best you can. Am I right by saying most of it is by merch sales?
I think you'll get it all depends on your contract, how much you
Mm,
get, a percentage of it. I mean, when you're brand new, all they're guaranteeing you is a chance.
yeah,
If you don't like what they're giving you, there's a million guys waiting to take that spot. So they don't really
yeah,
care. There's one Brock Lesnar. There's one, you know, Roman Reigns. There's one Seth Rollins. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There's 5 million 5 million ox hogs just waiting to go in there. And I'm like, nah, you know what? I'm not taking a salary of 30 grand and paying my own thing. I'm going to lose money, whatever. All right. Yeah. Well, we're going to take the next guy behind you. That's it.
Have you heard of the WWE ID program?
Yes. I think it's great.
All right. Why do you think it's great? I've been wanting to hear different takes on it.
I think it's okay. So back in the day, there was no NXT, no Deep South Wrestling, no OVW, no nothing.
Mhm.
You had WWF, you had the Indies, you had the NWA, you had some territories. Vince bought out all the territories, all the guys from the territories. Okay, so now you have your Indies, and okay, so they're going to Hershey, and they had people like Offa, who I don't want to say the agent, but they'd find guys and be like, "Hey, I need 3 guys for Wednesday night."
Mhm.
Because I need somebody to lose to Yokozuna, somebody to lose to this one, somebody to lose to that one. Okay, so I'm going to send you 3. They like what they see. You look nice. You go in there, you present yourself professionally, and you're do your job. You take your check and you go home.
Mhm.
Then they come back again. Hey, send me this guy. He was here last time. Blah blah blah. They like you. Maybe they'll use you a little bit more. Maybe eventually, maybe they'll say, there was 1 in a million of saying, hey, we're going to sign this guy. It's almost like getting signed from the practice squad on a football field, on the football team.
Yeah.
Then you can't have OVW, Deep South Wrestling, Florida Championship Wrestling come along. They're developmental things that WWE signs you. They send you there to develop.
Mhm.
Get done there. They like you there. They send you up. You're ready. They send you up. You don't progress, you're gone. But
Mhm.
you still use some local talent. Excuse me. So they use some local talent from the indies, and then it helps the guys on the indies because hey, I was on this WWE show, blah blah blah. Then OVW they ended up getting rid of the contract with them. Obviously, Al Snow has it now, doing a fantastic job with them kids.
Yes.
So Dusty,
He was killing it.
yes, and I want to say it was Dusty took Deep South. I think Bill DeMott had, and I don't know which came first, Deep South or FCW, whatever. But uh, sooner or later, they shut that down, turned it into NXT. So now to get on there, they're taking guys who are on developmental to dress up like the Rosebuds or to get job to so and so and everything like that. The indie guys ain't being used no more. Now
Yeah.
now you're kind of incorporating some of the indie wrestling back into it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's they want they want athletes. The WWE wants athletes, not necessarily indie wrestlers. They want athletes. They want guys that are trainable, guys that are and women that are they have a physique, a work ethic, and they're trainable. They don't have no bad habits because they don't know nothing, but they're athletic. You go to the
Mhm.
indie, depends who trained you. You got a bunch of bad habits. You got a half trained guy trained by another half trained guy who's wearing Walmart clothes and don't look the slightest bit believable. They don't want nothing to do with you. Now you're going to have some indie guys getting a little bit, you know what I mean, a little bit rubbed in there, and maybe something
Yeah.
will be up for them, which is great. I think that's great.
All right. That makes good sense there, man. Uh, Chad said Dusty Rhodes did great in FCW,
Yeah, he
and
was. Yeah,
he said there's only one Undertaker.
that's right. There's no.
All right, man. If you could, in your heyday, was there ever a guy that you wanted to get in the ring with and you just never got the chance to?
I mean, obvious. The one who I wanted to wrestle, there was 2 guys I wanted to wrestle that I never got to. I always wanted to wrestle Bret Hart. I always wanted to wrestle Taz. They were the 2 that I wanted to wrestle. Obviously, you could say Undertaker or whatever. That Bret Hart was kind of getting towards, not at the end of his career, but he was kind of getting towards that point. So, but like, I always, I got to, I was trusted enough to, work with a lot of names throughout my 20 years or so. But I mean, honestly, I got to work like, so I'm really happy with, the some of the indie guys I really got to work were, really great. You got to remember, I was spoiled in the beginning because when I first started doing shows, I was doing them for Alpha.
Yeah.
So it was Alpha, and then Sam and Rikishi, who was, what was he, Fatu back then when they were the head
Mhm.
shrinkers. They were either just done with WWE or they were there, and then on their days off, they'd come up there. And then when they were done, I got to work with them. One of my, I would think I was in the business maybe year or so, and I got to work with Sam at, a show in Reading. You know what I mean? And which was fine because me and Sam worked with me a lot. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like I was kind of spoiled. I wasn't even out, a year, and we were getting to do programs with Alpha, who was, former WWF champion. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
it was, and for a 21-year-old kid, you're like, this is, how don't you
Pretty
get
amazing.
caught in it? You know what I mean? But then, like,
Yeah.
as time goes on, you get to see guys and stuff, and like, I really, like, I got to work with Shane Douglas a couple times. He was,
I think he's very underrated.
oh, he actually put me over in to Stevens Fire Hall in Ephrata there, by
Yeah.
Ephrata, yeah. He actually put me, and and every time I seen him, he was like, he made such a fuss. He didn't have to, you know what I mean? And I busted him open a little bit. I busted open his lip, and I was like, oh fuck, I was like, God Almighty, Shane Douglas. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
dude, he's so cool. He's like, man, it happens. Don't worry about it. And I was like, man, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to take no cheapo at you. And this was the match that he was putting me over in. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my god, but he super cool. You know what I mean? I got to work. Like I think I said before on here, Big Vito. He's one of my good friends. I got to work with him a bunch of times. Another guy, super cool. And just taught me a lot in there. You think I learned so much from Alpha and Sam and them guys. And then you're thinking, well, I think I know, like, I know a bunch. I learned from them. And then you start, seeing how other guys do some stuff and other guys do some stuff. And, like, it's always good when the names are on that are, when they take the time to talk to you. If you're not listening, you're an idiot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
You
Uh,
know?
Chad had said he thinks you would have had a great match with Owen Hart.
I don't know. I think Owen was a little out of my league. Owen was a better wrestler than Brett. I can
Yeah.
tell you that, right? Brett was Brett was probably more crisp with his moves, but I think Owen was a better wrestler. But
If
yeah,
uh, if you go back to the stories of hearing about them two in the ring, it
yeah,
was always like a brotherly fight.
yeah,
Owen would rip him all the time just to piss him off in the
yeah.
ring.
He was
Uh, yeah, if you go
amazing.
back on like watch their matches, you can see it. It's so great, so great.
And he said Brett used to get real mad because Owen would say, "I'm better than you," and he would like
Yeah,
get like so. Like, he was so. I never met Bret Hart. He did a signing at Reading Philly Stadium one year. We did a show there, and he was. But like, I mean, even then, he was like, he was like serious. You know what I mean? Like, he was. He was like I was trying to get my way up just to introduce myself to him, and the line of people getting autographs was, the security. I was like, listen, I'm on the show here. You know what I mean? They're like, look, I understand, man, but this guy's here for an hour and he's signing and then he's out, and
yeah,
he was so, like, he was still very serious. Like, there was no, there was no goofing with him, but they said Owen was just a constant goofing off.
yeah. Owen enjoyed life. At least from what I've heard.
Yeah.
God rest his soul. Chad asked, "Have you guys ever seen or heard the Undertaker podcast?" I have. I listen to it every once in a while. The 6 Feet Under podcast. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I watch like clips of it that are on. I don't really, uh,
Facebook.
yeah, Facebook or Instagram. It's funny just listening to him be him
Hmm.
and not that character he portrayed. Because people get to the point. I'm going to tell you this from a first-hand knowledge and on a very small level. I can't imagine what it's like on a big level. People sometimes believe that you're playing a character, but in order for that character to work, especially a character like that, you got to be that character. So, like being him, he was that guy for what, 30 years?
Yeah.
Probably the only time he broke character was when he was home. You know what I mean? So, like, he
Without
wasn't
a
Mark
doubt.
Calloway, he was The Undertaker. I mean, that had to be horrible. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Did you see his documentary he did on WWE Network? It was about his retirement and all that. Leading up to it. If you haven't, I highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah, I seen
It's
part of it. I seen part. I
it's
didn't
his
watch the
whole
whole.
it's his whole career in his own words, and it's just like you were saying, just to hear him talk as Mark Calloway and not the Undertaker, like it's pretty fucking captivating, to be honest.
Yeah, he was. I think when he got in, he was a big guy, and then he got the WCW, and told him they never draw no money. And then Vince, the thing makes the call. Is this the Undertaker? You know what I mean? And he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah." You know what I mean? And and to see him, basically take that character and make it what I mean, because you got to like Shawn Michaels was on talking about it. Like his character, he had to like change it here and there because there's only like he made it fresh so many different times.
Yeah,
And I hated that American Badass thing, but he said it. Like he'll say, it was necessary because there was just so much. We did everything we thought we could do with that, and Vince hated
yeah,
it, and everybody hated it. And then when he came back as the Undertaker again, the Undertaker, like everybody, it was like brand new again.
yeah.
So his business sense is very good too.
If I ever get the chance, I know when WrestleMania, is in town or whatever, he always does his public speaking and stuff.
Yeah,
I would honestly, would I love to go to WrestleMania? Yeah, but I would actually prefer to go to like one of his public speaking things and just listen to him.
yeah.
Tell his stories. Uh,
I think
the
I
guy.
think him and Kane are two guys that are. I think them two complemented each other well, and I think that I think they're two people who are legitimately like good people because there's a lot of bad people in wrestling. You know what I mean?
And that's mainly because everybody's trying to get themselves over. Am I
Oh,
correct by saying
absolutely.
that?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, too. I mean, I'm not. It's that, and you're in that limelight all the time. I mean, you get. I had a chip on my shoulder from 50 people watching me. Can you imagine 50,000 people watching you? You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
man, I could imagine.
you know,
Yeah.
you know. Oh,
Shit. Oh man. Well, brother, we are coming up to our hour mark.
yes, sir.
So, all right, we're gonna finish this one off. We talked about some wrestling. Let's give him some good advice to head him on off to the holidays.
Oh man, I have some good advice. I need some good advice for myself. Take it slow. Take it slow. Don't overdo yourself. You know, understand that it's the thought behind the gift. You don't have to break yourself. You don't have to stress about how much money you're spending. It's the thought behind it. And you know, be kind and be thankful for everybody you have in your life. but also be kind and thankful to yourself and cut yourself a break. Yeah, everybody
Amen to
deserves a break. Cut yourself a break.
Amen to that. And anybody out there in Facebook land, you can always reach out to the Bartender's Jukebox. If you're having a rough moment during these holiday months, please feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to interact with you, even if it is just to get, whatever thoughts are off your mind. We're here for you. And Merry Christmas to you all. Like I always say, stay thirsty for life, stay thirsty for wrestling. Hey, till next time. Cheers.
Merry Christmas, brother.
Merry Christmas.